Hello everyone, welcome back to another lesson of PESTLE Analysis. In this lesson, we are going to mainly talk about the social factors. An easiest word for the social factors are the things that affect especially for the people's lifestyle. Now, one of the biggest change in the social factor is the social media. Now, let's take one example from the social media, which is the YouTube. YouTube is launched on the Valentine's Day of 2005. And today, YouTube actually became the second largest search engine in the world. And also, it is one of the top video sharing websites as well. And of course, the number one search engine in the world is the company Google. Now, on average, there is approximately 500 hours of videos uploaded to YouTube every single minute. What is even more surprising is that the number of minutes that people spend on YouTube per day is approximately 60 billion minutes, which is equivalent to around 115 years. Again, let me specify, this is the number of minutes that people spend on YouTube per day. Now, YouTube has a very significant negative impact on the traditional television programming companies and the cable companies such as Sky Cable. Since the release of the YouTube, people have been massively decreasing the consumption for the traditional television programs. YouTube even caused a massive deduction on the watch time on the consumption of the televisions. From those 60 billion minutes of watch time in YouTube per day, people actually spend around 70%, which is around 40 billion minutes of watch time. It actually comes from the mobile devices. YouTube also expanded very quickly to different countries. It covers 91 countries in 80 languages. That covers approximately 95% of the all internet users. Unlike the traditional television programs, YouTube actually has around 50 million of creators compared to thousands of creators of television programs in the world. YouTube also has a massive impact on the people who are working in the traditional entertainment industry. In 2017, the most popular YouTubers in the world actually got paid of a total $127 million. At the same time, YouTube also changed our way of how we consume advertisement. The main reason is because YouTube, they store all of the keywords that we search in the YouTube every time. And in this case, YouTube is able to distribute their advertisement customized on every single individual's search keywords. On average, YouTubers with 500,000 followers, YouTube is paying them $3,857 per video. And even the less popular YouTubers who has around 500 to 5,000 followers, they still get around $315 for every video that they upload. This is because of those advertisement revenues. And because one in at least every 3 users of mobile internet, they are actually watching YouTube. And this causes that the increase in the channels to the 6 digits earning are become really fast. It is growing by 40% per year. Not only are the creators of YouTube are earning a lot of money, the YouTube itself is also earning a net advertisement revenue of nearly $5 billion per year. Now I have to emphasize once again, this is the net advertisement revenue. By net, it means it is the total advertising revenue minus the cost of the advertisement already. And in total, YouTube actually generate approximately 15 billion US dollars for the advertisement revenue this year. And let me remind every student, now this is only one of the social media, YouTube, and it's always costing the traditional television program companies of around 15 billion US dollars. And the number will not stop at 15 billion. YouTube revenues is increasing every single year at the 2 digits growth rate. So this drives a lot of the traditional television program company out of the business. For the next example of PESTLE analysis, I would like to talk about the technology factor. If you heard about the Forbes 100, who are the top 100 richest person in the world, then you should also know what is the Bloomberg 50. Bloomberg 50 might not be the richest people in the world, however, they are the top 50 people that shape the world better in the most unexpected ways. One of the Bloomberg 50 would 2019, she concluded that there are 5 disruptive innovations emerging in the world, and it has never happened before in the history. The closest one is already being the Industrial Revolution, which we mentioned in last few weeks. And during those times, in the late 1800s, there are only 3 disruptive innovations, namely the electricity, the telephone, and the combustion engine. Now, same as the huge changes in every PESTLE analysis examples, these 3 disruptive innovations also caused a lot of people lost their jobs. However, at the same time, they have created the new jobs as well. And because of these 3 disruptive innovations, we actually experience booming economy and at the same time a low inflation rate, which is healthy. Okay, so what are the 5 disruptive innovations that we might have in the very near future? There are, first of all, the one who is called the DNA sequencing. Secondly is the robotics. Third is the energy storage. 4 is a lot of the people already familiar with the artificial intelligence. And the 5th one is the blockchain technology, which I'm going to explain later in the slides. For any students who is not very sure about what is the DNA, then I will do a small reverse engineering for you. So every one of us, we can see our body, and if we look very closely to our body, and especially for the hand, we are able to see different of small blocks. So those blocks are called the cells. And inside each cells, there are protein, and inside the protein, there are amino acids. And inside the amino acid, there is the DNA. So to put it in the easier terms, DNA is actually small tiny blocks for our whole body. Now, DNA sequencing or editing is not something that people are trying to develop today. It actually started the first attempt in 2003. And since then, it actually spent around 13 years of computing power and a total of around $3 billion. An easier way to describe about the DNA sequencing and the editing is like imagine our bodies is made up of the toy Lego. And in this case, DNA is like our body is built up of billions of Legos, which called DNA. The way that DNA is structured determines that whether we are healthy or we are sick. Even though the technology for DNA sequencing and editing is already available, however, it is not used in the common practice yet. As you can see, it takes a lot of time and it costs a lot of money. However, for the students to able to see how powerful and disruptive is the DNA sequencing, let's first assume that currently we already have DNA sequencing in common practice and we are using them already at a quick and a cheaper price. So we will take as the current coronavirus as an example. DNA sequencing is able to check by the structure of the DNA whether we got coronavirus or not. By DNA sequencing, it is able to detect coronavirus even without any symptom. And once the coronavirus is detected, the doctors can actually simply edit the DNA so the body can get back to healthy. Now, if we put the DNA sequencing in a more common use, we can even use it in the plants and fruits, where we can increase the productivity, sequence the plant and fruit to be sweeter and more delicious, and increase the amount that it can produce per year. Not only the DNA sequencing and editing can be a potential solution for the coronavirus, it can also be the solutions for the diseases like cancers, heart diseases, and childhood blindness. The second disruptive innovation is the collaborative robots. Now, nowadays, anything that humans can do in 7 seconds and are already able to replace by the robots. One of the main difference between the traditional robots and the collaborative robots is that the collaborative robots are designed to have more sensors. So once they hit a human, they will automatically stop and in a way is safer to use and reduce the risk of accidents. Second benefit is that the collaborative robot is cheaper compared to the traditional robots. And then the third benefit is that it's simpler to program as well. Comparing to the traditional robots, usually they will take weeks or even months to set up the jobs that they have to do. However, for the collaborative robots, it could be learned for just few hours. Now, currently, there are already 400,000 industrial collaborative robots sold, and it is estimated that in the next 5 years, the number will increase from 400,000 to around 3.4 million collaborative robots. And in addition, it is also estimated that each collaborative robot is able to replace at least 3 manual labors. The third disruptive innovation is the energy storage, and we are going to talk about the battery in this case. One of the best energy storage is the mineral called the lithium-ion batteries. Now, the lithium-ion batteries has been around since 1990s. However, if any one of you has the opportunity to have the iPhone 1 at the very young age, at that time, the iPhone 1 is not using the lithium-ion batteries yet. The main reason is because during the early stage, the cost for the energy storage in the lithium ion is very high, and it can only store a very little amount of energy using the lithium ion ore. The main reason is because the limitation of the technology. The people has not explored how to fully use the potential of lithium ion batteries yet. However, as the technology develops, the cost of the battery actually decreasing every year at a very rapid rate. So as we can see from this graph, previously at every 1000 watts per hour is going to around $10,000. But later on, as you can see, because of the advance in the technology, right now we are able to generate hundreds to thousands of million kilowatts per hour every $100. The technology is expected to continue to improve, and we are expecting that in the future we will be able to generate tens of billions of kilowatts per hour by spending around $50. And with that decrease in the cost of the battery, we are expecting to have around 26 million electric cars in the next 3 years. This is because using the lithium battery, it will be friendlier to the environment, and at the same time it is cheaper. The fourth disruptive innovation is the artificial intelligence. And more technically, some people call them the deep learning. In the traditional computer industry, most of the programs are actually written by the programmers. However, for the artificial intelligence and for the deep learning, the software is going to be written by the computers itself by using the large or big data. Now, for my finance students, you might know this better because literally it is like the solver where you only put one click and then that optimizes the information or calculation for you. However, the main difference is that for the artificial intelligence or for the deep learning, it is going to apply for every single decision. Now, when the artificial intelligence or the deep learning technology is matured, it is going to eliminate large amount of programmers in the future. So for any students who are considering to be a programmer in the future, or you have any friends or families considering to be a programmer in the future, you need to remind them about this issue. History, each way of the software disruption actually create a lot of money for the economy. For example, it is estimated that in 1998, the PC has generated an additional value of $4 trillion to the economy. If we compare to the time where we do not have the internet, having internet actually generated an additional 10 trillion US dollar to the economy. Now, in the next 20 years, it is estimated that the artificial intelligence or the deep learning will be able to generate an additional of 30 trillion US dollar for the economy. And just like the PC, the internet, the deep learning or the artificial as well is going to affect all industry. Every company will be using the internet, will be using the computers, and they will be using the artificial intelligence and the deep learning as well. Once again, just like the computers, just like the internet, it drives a lot of people to lose their job. However, at the same time, they created a lot of new jobs as well for the economy. So make sure that every student have to keep upgraded with their skills. In the future, especially in the next 20 years, students will need to learn about the deep learning. The fifth disruptive innovation is the blockchain technology. And one of the most popular things that use the blockchain technology is the cryptocurrency. The first cryptocurrency is created by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008. And I think a lot of the students are already very familiar with this cryptocurrency, which is called the Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is a new monetary system, which means it changes the way of how we use the money. And the value of our money is usually relying on the efficiency and the effectiveness of the government and the policy makers. You remember from the last lecture, we mentioned that during the financial crisis, US and UK government actually printed both 2 trillion of currency for each country. And once again, if we envision the height of piling up 2 trillion pounds, the height is going to be 5 times from the Earth to the International Space Station. Now, recently during the coronavirus, US Federal Reserve, they actually printed additional money as well, which totals to $300 billion. Once again, if you remember from the previous lesson video, you know that every 1 billion, the height is higher than the tallest building in the world. Therefore, in this case, $300 billion is just slightly lower than the distance between the Earth to International Space Station. This enormous amount of money printed is going to decrease the value of our money in our hand and in our bank. There is actually no specific limit on how much money the government can print every year. It will really eventually depends on the policymakers. If we put it in the more extreme cases, a country called Zimbabwe, in 2006, they actually added 3 more zeros to their currencies. And in later years, they even issued $100 trillion notes. And imagine this. One piece of $100 trillion notes in Zimbabwe can only buy you a loaf of bread. As a result, why there are so many people interested in the cryptocurrency and especially Bitcoin is because Bitcoin is free from the government top-down control. Instead of relying on the government, it is actually governed by the decentralized mass, which are the people just like us, who are the one who will be controlling the wealth for the cryptocurrency. Another beauty about the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, is that in total, the whole world, there is only 21 million Bitcoins in the world. And no matter how long it takes, no matter 100 more years or 1,000 more years, it will still remains 21 million Bitcoins in total. Now, if we look at the transaction volume of the Bitcoin, we can see that it is actually higher than the Western Union, and it is actually higher than the PayPal. And in 2018, it actually surpassed the 1 trillion US dollar threshold. So in total, the transaction volume of Bitcoin is more than 10 times of the Western Union, and it is more than 2 times of the PayPal. Now, right now, it's still around 8 to 10 times smaller than the transaction of Visa card, but as we can see, it's gradually growing to that direction. In addition, if you are able to see the patterns, these growing patterns is going to tell that in the future there's a very high chance that people around the world, no matter which country, they will be using the one same currency, which very likely to be the Bitcoin. As you can see from this PESTLE analysis technological factor example, even for the government monetary officers, there are some chance for them to lose their job as well. Now, I would like to ask every student to pause the video and give yourself a little bit of break first. Go drink some water, eat some food, and get yourself energized. Okay, so if you are here with me, if you have not finished drinking your water or finished eating your sandwich, then remember to pause the video first for now because we are going to start in a few seconds. Okay, the next example for the PESTLE analysis is the legal factors. And more specifically, we are going to look at the new changes in the UK law. Due to the recent Brexit, nowadays there are more than 3.5 million European Union citizens here in UK, and that is approximately 6% of the total UK population. And if these European Union citizens want to live in UK, then they have to apply for something called the European Union Settlement Scheme. For the European Union citizens who live in UK for more than 5 years, then they could apply for something called the settlement status. And for the European citizens who live in UK for less than 5 years, they can apply for the pre-settlement status. And that one will give them the right to live here in UK until they reach the 5 years mark, and then they can decide whether they want to apply for the settlement status or not. Changes in the UK laws are, for now, the toilets near the railway station should now be free. So previously, people who want to go to the toilet, sometimes they do have a concern that they don't have coins. But right now, all the blocks been removed and people are able to go to the toilet whenever they want. Other bigger changes include the increase in the minimum wage. So in this year, there is around a 5% increase in the minimum wage from £7.83 to 8.21 pounds per hour for the people who are working at the age 25 and above. For the people who are working below the age 20, for 21 to 24 years old, they will have a minimum wage increase from 7.38 pounds to 7.7 pounds. And for the people who are around 18 to 20 years old, the minimum wage will increase from 5.9 pounds to 6.15 pounds. And lastly, people who are under the age of 16 to 17 years old, their minimum wage will increase from 4.2 pounds to 4.35 pounds. Now, this around 5% increase in minimum wage, you might only think that it's only increase in the 30 to 40 pence per hour. However, if you imagine most of the employees in fast food industry, they are actually receiving the minimum wage. And consider how much staff they have for the fast food industry around the world. How big is this 5% increase in minimum wage going to affect the profit margin? Lastly, I would like to talk about the environmental factors, or some people call it the ethical factor. For hundreds of years, people have been arguing whether business should serve it mainly for the profit or it should serve a purpose. Another way of saying this is that whether a business should be focused mainly on generating money or the business should be focusing on serving the society. Nowadays, as our environment are getting polluted every single day, we are actually concerning whether our future generation have enough natural resources to use. Regarding this natural resources issue, Pimentel and Pimentel 2003, they actually carry out a research on the European lifestyle. What they found out is that the world that we are living in is already 2 to 3 times higher than its sustainable level. In other words, regarding this natural resources issue, they found out that currently the Earth's natural resources can only sustain 2 billion people at European lifestyle. In addition, their study also showed that the European lifestyle already consume far more natural resources than the poorest 2 billion people in the world. However, this European lifestyle only consumes half of the resources of average American people lifestyle. So if we do the math, it means that the natural resources that we have nowadays can only sustain 1 billion average American people lifestyle. Clearly, if we follow this pattern, we can easily draw a conclusion that there will be not enough natural resources for our future generation to use. As a result, to maintain the sustainability of our natural resources, then we have to look after the well-being of our environment. Business will also require to build more new renewable energy and also to prevent producing pollution. Business will also need to develop the concept of sustainability by increasing the CSR and the green designs. So what is CSR? CSR means that it's a business process that involves in doing things for above and beyond the law requirement that benefits the society. It could be activities like giving to charity or using greener technology into their business operation. By implementing the CSR, it does not mean that companies have to give up their profits. It just means that the companies will have to strike the balance between the economic, the social, and the environmental issues. In this way, company can make sure that they take care of the shareholders, at the same time the stakeholders as well. It can also be done by identifying and managing the risk and also sharing the knowledge to the employees, visitors, customers, and everyone that is related to the business. In this way, they will better understand about the health, safety, and the environment responsibilities. One of the examples for the CSR in the current coronavirus period is that for the companies or for the university to look after the students as well as the teacher and staff about the health, the safety, the regulations, and also to take care of their well-being, especially when they're sick. As we mentioned a while ago, CSR does not mean the company have to give up their profit. By performing the CSR, company can also increase its profit by, first of all, for example, it can increase their reputation. Now, reputation is built based on the trust, the reliability, the quality, the consistency, credibility, and the relation and the transparency. Once the reputation is built, then it will also build the customer loyalty with the brand. And the customer loyalty will lead to increase in revenue and profit. However, the brand reputation will take years and years to build, and sadly, it could take, in extreme cases, only few minutes to break. Second benefit of CSR is that it has a better access to the finance, or another word is funding, or another word is money. Due to the advancement of the technology nowadays, there is actually a constant improvement in the transparency. Banks and investors notice that if a company has a very poor social or environmental credential, it actually has a very high in the investment risk. So what they do is that there are increasing amount of banks and investors who are investing or lending money to the companies that have very high CSR. There are even increasing organizations that are lending out the money or investing in the CRI section, which is the socially responsible investment. In addition, as we mentioned a while ago, CSR also helps a lot in improving risk management. This is because if a company that take care very well for the environment, usually they get sued less by the public and by the government. Improving the CSR in the company also leads to improvement in the innovation, creativity, and learning. This is because the business nowadays will constantly need to consider about how to be friendlier or more effective and efficient for the needs of the environment and the shareholders. Lastly, it also reduces the cost for the recruitment. It helps to motivate staff, and it also helps to retain the top quality employees. Industries like tobacco or the cigarette, oil, and chemical, generally they need to spend more money in order to recruit some of the higher positions. At the same time, those industries generally has a higher cost or higher difficulty of retaining those managers and directors as well. In contrast, there is a research done by the World Foundation report in the year 2004. What they found is that if a company is taking care of the society, then generally their staff will stay with the company longer as well. The benefit of the staff staying longer in the company is that the company, in this case, will need to spend less money of hiring the people in the HR to looking after people's CV and interviewing people, plus training. There is a further research conducted by Edmund in the year 2016, finding that if a company is giving their staff with respect and privacy plus self-work, improving their self-work, then generally that will be very beneficial for the business. Particularly in his 28 years of sample data, he found out that companies that treat their employees really well generally has a better performance than their peer by 2.3 to 3.8% per year on average in the long run. If anyone who is thinking that 2.3 to 3.8% per year is not a lot, then consider this. If you sum up that 28 years of effect, then that will add up to 89% to 184%. In other words, for around 30 years, the companies that treat their staff better generally will have a stock return that is 2 to 3 times higher than their peers. What is even more interesting in Edmund's study is that he found out that CSR does not necessarily immediately shows the result. On average, it will take a company 4 to 5 years to see the results for the investment in CSR. And he also proves that it is the satisfaction of the employee that caused the increase in the performance of the company. And it is not because the company is rich, that's why it is treating their staff better. One of the example I would like to use in this case is the big supermarket, Walmart and Costco. Now, Walmart is not doing anything bad to their staff, but Costco, they are treating their staff extremely well. On average, Costco is paying their staff around $20, and that is around 2 times of the minimum wage in US. More surprisingly, in the special holidays such as Christmas, New Year, and Thanksgiving, which is some of the biggest celebration in the world, all of the supermarkets are open except Costco. This is because in the perception of the Costco owners and chief officers, for those special occasions, the staff should be spending their time with their friends and family instead of working in the company. Closing down the Costco supermarket during those big celebrations might affect their sales and profit for a few days, however, they earn it back during the rest of the year. And once again, if we compare the stock return of Costco and other supermarkets, we can see the Costco stock return is a lot higher than the others. Now, this is the power of CSR and employee satisfaction. Now, these are just few of the examples from the PESTLE analysis. PESTLE analysis could be super powerful and very analytical. Once the PESTLE analysis is performed properly, it will bring a lot of benefit to the company. As a practice for this lesson, what I want you to do is to perform a deep PESTLE analysis on the companies or the industry that you think they might face a very deep trouble in the very near future. As usual, you will compile all of your information and present it into a PowerPoint slides. However, the main difference is that for this time, the PESTLE analysis is going to be marked as your formative assessment. To end this lesson, I would like to share you one of my favorite quotes from Charles Darwin. He says that in the world, it is not the strongest or the most intelligent species that always survive. Actually, it is the one that is most responsive or most adaptive to changes. The reason why I love this quote a lot is because the world changes every single day, regardless we like it or not. In the PESTLE analysis, we went through a lot of examples where the companies are not adaptive and they went bankrupt. And very similarly, where the people are not adaptive, they lose their jobs. Therefore, one of the main lessons that we can learn from this PESTLE analysis is that we have to be constantly responsive and adaptive to live a happy and meaningful life. Lastly, I would like to thank every student who learned this lesson with me. I miss every single one of you and wish you have a wonderful, happy, safe, and healthy vacation. And I will see you in the next video.